Do you know what makes a good hero? Is it all the feats that they accomplish, who they are as a person, or just how many people they saved? No, it's none of that, I'm sorry. Chopping off the balls of a Hydra might be really cool, but they can grow back 4 more. All of the tenets of someone like a paladin were written before they swore by them, and those children that one guy saved all grew up to be Hitler. Every single one. What makes a great hero, above all things, is the epic gamer loot that they collected along the way. Now before I lose you, I have like 1,000 examples, but one of the best is Mjolnir, the hammer that defines Thor, to the extent that Stan Lee decided whoever has the hammer becomes a Thor. Even in the oldest stories and myths, artifacts and items were gobbled up, traded, stolen, forged, grown, and wielded to perform miracles and beat down goblins. My inspiration for this video was actually watching the Chinese movie Musha, where the little goblin child from this ancient story is given a bunch of random crap with transformative powers as his birthday gift, all of which serve multiple purposes, with my favorite being a pig that turned into wind and fire wheels that he uses like rollerblades. Also, I just have to say, any sash or cloth that gets used as a weapon has a special place in my heart. From Doctor Strange's cloak to Batman's cloak. We need more of that, please. But the whole jumble of iconic magical gifts got me thinking, especially as a loot goblin who likes collectathons more than anything, why have legends about objects when the stories are about the people that use them? I'm kinda learning that all the tasty gear gathering is not just its own part of the adventure, but it's integral to character growth, and easily more important than stuff like leveling up. There's a lot of mythical magic item examples, but I actually wanted to start with the importance of armaments in God of War. Each one marks an integral moment in Kratos' journey, and each one is incredibly powerful in its own right. The Blades of Chaos were forged as a pact between Ares and Kratos, binding him with symbolic chains and giving him the power to kill gods. I mean, without those weapons, you can't jump around the map, so he probably wouldn't have gotten that far. The Leviathan axe was forged with its own destiny to clash with Mjolnir, regardless of who ended up actually carrying it. And the moment when Kratos chooses to forge the Draupnir spear, it's because only a tool like Draupnir would allow him to make his own choice and forge his own path. One of my favorite moments in that story is the alone time that Brock and Kratos get, culminating in both of them kind of learning the same lesson, that it's the nature of a thing that matters most, not its form. I found that weapons are easily the best example of tools determining the nature and fate of their wielder, but there are a few adjacent examples like the Necronomicon, a symbol that the pursuit of knowledge bears a weight equal to or greater than a sword in the chest. Or the Armor of Zeldaron, proof that pride and protection are opposing pursuits. Or the delicious cakes, Uppelkuchen and Schrumpfenkuchen, little edible story devices from Alice in Wonderland that show, in order to endure a new world, you have to alter yourself to fit its mold. Speaking of Alice in Wonderland, the Jabberwocky poem was built out as a sort of prophesied meeting between the only 2 named foes, itself and the Vorpal Blade. Instead of starting off the video with partnered content, what if I just asked a random question right now, like, don't you just hate it when you're reading about what powers the Pope has, and then when you click a sidebar ad that promises infinite wisdom, it just steals your IP address instead, throttling your internet and inflating your email with awesome offers? Well, this video's partner is NordVPN, who wields the power to stop that from happening. With encrypted traffic, threat protection, and ad blocking, you can rest easy while those nasty, smelly hackers cry into their Cheeto hands. And if you go to nordvpn.com/runesmith, you get 4 extra months slapped onto a 2-year plan. That's literally their best deal, and only I can offer it to you. And if you don't like it for any reason, you can get your money back within the first 30 days. I use it all the time to play hide and seek with websites I visit while on public servers, just to keep them on their toes. And you can too by going to nordvpn.com/runesmith for a big fat deal on safety. Thank you, Nord. Love you. Okay, it's video time. Another way these powerful items function is when they're misused, lending themselves so strongly to their users that they become an extension of that user and lose their original purpose. 2 great examples of this, Wukong's staff and the Ice King's crown. The obedient rod, marked by golden hoops, is not a weapon. It was crafted to be a measuring stick or a ruler that would be dipped into the depths of the flood in a time long past. But after the monkey entered the Dragon King's temple and broke every weapon in the treasury, the only thing heavy enough not to break was this magic stick that could grow. This sort of lends itself to the fact that Wukong defies everything in his world, even the nature of its own tools, and still beating everything into submission. On the opposite end, the Ice King's crown was cursed by its own creator's folly. Where it was meant to grant this ancient birdman his wish for survival, it instead cloned him from his servant's neglected wish to just be a great ice mage. Adventure Time actually has a wealth of examples as to why artifacts and cool loot serve to develop characters, since each time Finn gets a new sword, it marks a lesson that he needed to learn. He loses his first sword to his obsession with a princess, and decides not to pick up another sword until he believes his brother is dead, which acts as sort of a downgrade until he faces his imposter syndrome, overcoming it and gaining a demon blood sword. After ruining his first relationship, the consequences of what he destroyed culminate in the sacrifice of this sword, which once belonged to his father. The grass sword is its own complex thing, showing Finn's growth from a misguided kid into a man that is able to face his own mistakes, and it gets destroyed by the choices of a man who can't do anything other than run from his own. The final important sword is an evolution, and instead of being an extension of Finn as a swordsman, it literally is Finn as a sword. This final arc concludes with both of Finn's most personal swords manifesting yet another echo of his insecurities, allowing him to battle some of his biggest questions about identity, violence, and purpose, doing it directly against two magic items that he sort of forged. Most of the time, those who live by the sword die by the sword, especially when the sword is ill-gotten. Sir Balin from King Arthur's legend took a magic sword with a cursed omen, ironically because he was the only one virtuous enough to do so. And carrying that sword around is the only thing that led him to kill his brother. I started this video trying to clash the ideas of getting magic items versus leveling up, but got lost in the poetry of story tools along the way. I still want to close it out with the same point that I was originally going to make, that since items are integral to the growth of a character, when gained and when lost, they should be integrated into leveling up, with certain items giving characters the abilities that they grow into. Most of you would probably complain, because you're babies, if I said certain story beats like losing items could cost a character levels, but I argue that your level should fluctuate sometimes. Spider-Man loses his powers every once in a while to signify a rut that he's in, and it allows him to grow in a different direction and either gain new powers or augment latent ones. To close out with an actual D&D example, in a home game that I run, I have a sorcerer and a warlock. The sorcerer has ancestral magic, so to level up, I had him consume a vial of his ancestor's blood, while the warlock, whose patron is trapped in a crystal that he carries around, was given another crystal that it merged with. This hypothetical system also lends itself well to cross-classing with specific late-level abilities for all you power gamers, but mostly, I just like loot, and I really like what loot does to the story, and what it does in my pocket. That's about it.